is the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast, brought to you by Sysco. Sysco is here to help set you up for success by delivering high-quality foods, products, and services for your restaurant. Recording live to digital from the NCF&B studios in downtown Raleigh. Join us as we lead you into the kitchen, inside the bottle, and into the minds of the food and beverage industry. And now, fresh off of writing an indignant Google review, commenting about a 5-star Facebook post written by an anonymous Yelpster, soon to be reposted on a new subreddit, it's Max Trujillo and Matthew Weiss.
Well, thanks, Brian, and hello, and thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I am your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I am your co-host, Matthew Weiss. And today on the show, we have one of the most prolific chefs in our country. He is none other than the fabulous Chef Ford Fry. Welcome, Chef.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome to North Carolina, sort of.
Yeah.
we talked about that. Been here.
Yeah,
a little bit.
But you're so for those that are want to know all, Chef Fry, you have a ton of restaurants, quite a few, quite successful ones. But there are a couple of places that are here in North Carolina. I guess the first step was in Charlotte, and then now you're here in Raleigh. Well, technically in Cary, in the Fenton area. And this is the dumb joke. I'm sure you hear this all the time. Superica. But my mom, she would call it Sepulveda instead of Sepulveda in Los Angeles. So for those that need to know, how do we say your restaurant's name?
Superica.
There it is. Okay. Yes.
Superica. Hey, Max, I'm wondering actually something that pertains to you before we even get into the restaurant side of things. Chef, at this point, do you have more guitars or more restaurants?
Oh, gosh. More restaurants now, actually. I downsized the guitars a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I know that you're a player. What do you tend to play on? Are you an acoustic guy, an electric guy?
Oh no, I do have a couple old acoustics that are awesome, but mainly electric, real loud.
Yeah.
Les Pauls, SGs, Strats.
Oh, now you're talking.
Everything.
I just got a Gretsch last year for Christmas, and it's a beauty.
Yeah.
Max, what's your collection of two?
I actually just counted them the other day. I have 9 guitars.
Okay.
So it's not crazy.
I think I'm at 12 or 13 now.
12 or 13.
You have to add the banjo. We've got the banjo just sitting over here.
I was going to say, does the banjo count as in your guitar collection?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So 12 or 13 guitars. And then I think, is the restaurant count with the Little Ray that's coming to Raleigh, is that going to be 24?
It depends. Some people count. We have the Optimist in Nashville has got 2 other elements in the same building. It's got Lelu and it's got Star Rover. So if you count those as 3, or if you count those as 1. So if you count those as 1, then you're probably around 24, 25 with Little Ray.
Okay.
Wow.
I would say.
So I wasn't kidding when I said prolific.
No.
Yeah, you're feeding a lot of people.
You are not. Yeah, you're feeding a lot of people. You're making a lot of food. You're not a guy who's letting grass grow.
How about that?
Well, I was just going to say, taking it back, I mean, you grew up in Houston, went to New England Culinary Institute, which is an interesting choice. Wondering how that occurred. Like a lot of people go to California or New York. How did that start?
Oh my gosh. So I went on. So from Houston, I went off to college. I went to Arkansas, University of Arkansas, joined a fraternity, didn't go to class. I'd never cooked in a restaurant before. So I'd been a busboy and a server, horrible busboy, horrible server. And so I thought I liked the restaurant industry, but I think I got fired from both of those jobs. So I go to college thinking major in business, and really didn't go to class that much. So because I hadn't cooked before, I started my dad, I cooked at home and stuff, but my dad suggested culinary school. So I got the brochures, and that was between Johnson & Wales. Back then it was like Johnson & Wales, CIA in New York and New England.
Yeah.
I didn't know much about California at that time. CIA, you had to have experience, so that crossed me off that list. Vermont, Necky would take my money, so I went there, and I also saw I got the brochure, and there was a dude skiing, and and I'm like, okay, I'll go to that school.
That sounds great.
But it was awesome. I mean, it was really the right choice, because especially for me, because I hadn't cooked before, and we ran this in Vermont. So we had like 2 restaurants, a bakery, banquets. We washed dishes, we cleaned the kitchen. It was like full on 6 days a week, a lot of hours. We had classroom. I mean, it just busted your ass, So it was what I needed. It was what I needed to wake up, and I loved it. It was just like, woo, it just clicked.
That's great, man. It's amazing. And you were roughly how old at this time?
My second year of culinary school, I turned 21.
Yeah. So it's great to get on a path that young in life, that this is what you want to do, and you're really focused on the craft. So that's great. So all right, when you first got out, what was real life like when you actually got thrown into a real restaurant? What was that experience like?
Oh, you mean well, it was like $7 an hour to start, which was rough.
Yeah.
But I didn't think much about it. I knew that's what it was going to be. It was a lot of hours. I don't know. I kind of enjoyed it. I was a dreamer. I always knew that I wanted to start my own restaurant, but wasn't sure kind of how that was going to get done.
Yeah.
So then it was just all about, hey, I think when you're young, it's about, hey, what area of the country can I go work and live that's really cool, that would be fun? So, anywhere from, the beach to the mountains in Aspen to Santa Barbara was like, I got to live in some really cool places. So it was good, I mean.
You made a career out of it.
Yeah, you make a career out of living in cool places. But the reason you got to Atlanta, you got recruited for a corporate job. Is that right? I got recruited to open this place called Eatsies, which was a big. Not to be confused with Etsy, like on Amazon. Where
No. So this was a big place that you'd go in if you didn't want to cook, and you'd go in and it was like a big open kitchen where we made all our own bread. Is right in front of you, right when you walk in the door. Salads, sandwich. It's like a big Dina and DeLuca, but more heavy on the prepared food side. Okay. So, I was coming off of the Ritz-Carlton in Aspen, and then got recruited to go be this chef and opening this one in Buckhead in Atlanta. 17 million a year in sales. So
wow,
huge volume, big staff. So I learned really, how to run manage a P&L, how to manage people, how to manage production, how to manage, margins, because the margins are real tight. It wasn't the most glamorous food, I'd say, but I learned how to run a business for sure.
Yeah. And running that big of a business, managing that many people sets you up for now the world of 24 to 25 restaurants, I would imagine.
Well, I've had a lot of help,
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's well, let's get into some of the culinary, the cuisine. So from our perspective here in North Carolina, we know you at Super Rica as this Tex-Mex chef, these handmade tortillas. By the way, I love the way your tortillas or your tacos come out just like rolled with all the accoutrement on the side. I was like, oh, this guy gets it. Like there's just some cool little touches like that rather than just slopping it all over the place and wetting it down and ruining the beautiful tortilla. So that's our perspective. But what is like the full story when we talk about the other concepts and things that we haven't seen in this area? What's the rest of Fort Fry?
Oh, wow. I didn't start out to do Tex-Mex. Tex-Mex came, 6 or 7 restaurants in where that was just a desire of mine growing up in Texas and living in the Southeast, just wanting that experience of like wood grilled everything, handmade tortillas, salsas, just that cheesy Mexican, that chefs like to, look down upon, but they love to eat kind of thing, it wasn't like it wasn't anything about ego. It was just about a place I wanted to go. And, most of the time I would say the location that we found determined what the restaurant was back in the early stages. That's how it was. It was like, we found a location presented itself to us and we determined, all right, what are we passionate about that we think would make sense in this location that the neighborhood would want? But we'd also have to be passionate about. So, we did all kinds of JCT was the first one, which was more Southern, back when farm to table, whatever word was really popular 15 years ago, and then 246, it was about, partnering with other friends of mine, chefs in town to get them. That's more California Italian. I mean, St. Cecilia, Marcel, which is kind of a fancy steakhouse. So it's just, it's just all about this creative outlet, I'd say. This is like, hey, this is fun. This would be fun to do this. And so it's more about upscale dining more than casual. So Superica was our first real casual place.
Yeah.
So somebody comes to you and says, hey, chef, I got this location. You go take a look at the location, and then the location dictates to what food. And that's how it started. But now you kind of have, like Max said, you're known for this, let's call it elevated Tex-Mex. And now it's a different strategy, or I'm putting the words in your mouth. Like, how does the strategy go now? Is like you have Superica in Charlotte, and now in Cary, North Carolina, which we got to talk about how you came to North Carolina. And now with the Little Rays, you're putting one in Houston, and you're putting one in Raleigh, in this great area called Ironworks. So that's a different change of strategy, I'm assuming.
Yeah. I mean, I would split our company, we started off with the restaurants I was just talking about. And then those are more, I guess you'd call them, those are more kind of itching that creative, or, I call it kind of like, I don't know, these are the flagship locations or whatever. But then there was a side of what we noticed with opening Superica was it kind of struck a chord in the neighborhood or in the city. Was like, wow, this is fun. This is cool. It really worked. It was a great opportunity for us to employ people and all this. So I had always thought the Southeast was fairly void of that type of Tex-Mex or
no
even
doubt.
Little Ray.
Yeah.
So it was kind of void of that. You'd go to the strip centers and you'd find these little places and they all tasted the same. And they were fine and they did what they did, but they weren't what I grew up having. So I just thought, the Southeast would be fun. I could travel around. I could go to Nashville. I could go to Raleigh. I could go to wherever, Florida, and just kind of populate this area with because we just get all kinds of emails. Come here, or whatever. Little Ray was more of the even more casual, walk-up service type of thing. But you walk up and you see all these wood cooking contraptions. You see a grill, you see a smoker, you see this wood roasting chicken box going on. And then on the other side, you see these people making tortillas and they're like puffing up. And, I just love like tacos, so it's like, what's better? So a lot of times where we go to a city with Superica and someone would come to us with, hey, I have this other location, but it's only 3,000 square feet or it's only 3,500 square feet. And I'm like, and it's 2 miles from Superica. So how about a Little Ray? Little Ray is a little different, a little bit more casual experience, a little more on the go. It just kind of made sense. And that way when we visit a town or go see another town, we can see more places. But
yeah, well,
I think
you're defining your brands and pinpointing the usages of them a lot more. And I guess that comes with all this growth and experience. When you look at your restaurant empire, we can call it an empire. I think you were named Empire of the Year or something like that recently. But do you have previous chefs that you've looked upon kind of as mentors, or at least someone that you'd say, I like the way that this, celebrity chef is crafting their model. Like I would like to emulate that. Are there anybody in the business today or from before that you kind of looked up towards for this?
Yeah. Okay, this is with a caveat. This is the person early on that I would look up to. I don't know this person, but I would watch what he did, and he was passionate about helping others, get into restaurants. And I would say I can't vouch for his personal life, but Mario Batali was I think he did that well, with the Spotted Pig and other restaurants. And
oh yeah, Italy and Mozza.
Stellar.
Yeah, his food is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people. I mean, there was even like, you're from California. I mean, early on, there was like, remember real restaurants like you may not know, you may be too young, but remember like Fog City Diner and Trevina and Napa. This is early.
Yeah,
days.
yeah. This is going back, but yeah, like, well, it parallels, and I mention it every now and then, but I feel like you. So like I worked for Wolfgang Puck for 5 years, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about the things that you're doing, and with like he was known for his wood fire ovens, right? Because he would do the pizzas, but he also was using that wood fire to cook everything. He was roasting steaks in there and doing some really cool stuff. And it was edgy at the time. Now it's a little passe, although now I'd even argue it's kind of cool again. It's like, oh yeah, that's actually kind of neat. The barbecue chicken pizza in a wood fire oven is actually kind of cool again. But he had all those diversifications of work. Like he had his Spagos, of course, and then he had the cafes. I worked primarily at the cafes, and then I spent time at Chinois, which was like his Chinese French restaurant, which was beautiful. And then he had all the catering stuff, and then he's got like the airport stuff, and then all the frozen foods and all that. So are there any plans to diversify your brand into like, can we get some salsas or some maybe do a top ramen, like a fry ramen?
No,
that'd be good.
Man, you mentioned Chinois. I loved Chinois. And that place was awesome.
Yeah. The whole fish that'd come out, these Chinese chicken salads. They did some crazy stuff there.
No, I stay away from air. We get, everyone's wanting to get into airports. I'm like, I do not have a desire to go to an airport I go enough to an airport that I don't want to go again. But, the only thing that I could ever thought about was like, our salsas, like I throw a fit when I see salsa on a table that was made the day before. Like I can't handle it, and people want to buy it, and I really don't want to sell it to them because I don't want them to experience it 2, 3, 4, 1 week down the road. And I'm like, no, and that's no good. But maybe queso, I was thinking queso. We tried putting queso in jars, and we've done that and put it in the restaurant. So, but it doesn't like fly out the door or anything like that.
I guess, I mean, Tex-Mex food has to be like really fresh for it really to be at its best. Yeah. You're not, maybe, I don't know, you may pickle some onions or something like that. There you go.
Yeah. I want to know, staying on the business side for a second, because I think probably a lot of chefs are listening. They're like, well, I have the culinary background. I have passion. But the thing that Max and I hear all the time after doing this show 7 years, and even pre-pandemic, was staffing. And so now building this, Max, you called it empire. How do you do that? What's the secret sauce to staff these places, especially when they're in different cities?
Yeah, that's really tough. I mean, we do try to. It's kind of like, in bread where you've got the mother dough, the mother, which is the yeast and all this stuff. So as much as we can when we go to another city to really transfer or some of the culture or some of those people to help to actually live there.
Yeah.
That helps feed and train and get the culture started from the very beginning. So, because it's really difficult. I mean, we've definitely noticed, we have a little bit easier time, in Atlanta with new restaurants and all. But when we go to, Cary is probably the farthest other than maybe Houston. But, it's a little like Charlotte was really tough staffing wise after the pandemic. But so for the most part, I always looked at it as empowerment. It wasn't about me delegating and dictating hey, what are we going to cook? I mean, I definitely did the vision, and wrote kind of the parameters of, hey, this is what the restaurant is. This is kind of a sample menu, and we all kind of write the menu together. But once the chef and, once they know, kind of get it, then we kind of let them run with it. And when they run with it and they own it, then they have passion about it, and people like working for people like that. So we really have to kind of instill this culture throughout the whole organization so that people enjoy what they do, and we definitely have people who, are disgruntled here. It just seems like the past couple of years has been it's really hard, but and it feels like a real shift in, the whole scene again. It's hard to explain, and we can probably talk about that, but
it's a real thing, man. Like the industry is not the same. I mean, I think the pandemic changed things, but I think more importantly, it was during that pause of not working, there was a lot of self-reflection about like self-worth. Why should I do this? And if I'm going to do it, should this merit a certain amount of money and also experience? And people just, it was evident that the restaurant industry was crying out to change, and it did, for whatever reasons. And I don't even know if it's better now or not. It's just different because, and it is encouraging though, like in this new change, to see chefs like yourself be able to overcome a lot of those issues. But maybe that's what it is too, is like we need Fort Fry or, the old Wolfgang Puck out there to like continually open more places to help define this new culture. And then like maybe after like a lot of these successful chefs have like kind of made their mark in larger spaces, will then the rest of the industry kind of take note and continue to like rise up.
And I want to pause for just a quick word from our sponsor, our title sponsor, Sysco.
Yeah, that's right. So Sysco, well, we can always talk all day about cooking up the most delicious barbecue, artisanal pizza, or craft cocktails. It's the business and the branding side of things that often determines the success in this industry.
That's why Sysco, the global leader in food service, is the best resource to keep your brand strong. Sysco knows that great ingredients are only one part of your recipe for success. By understanding your unique needs, they can offer you powerful solutions to run every aspect of your business.
How? Well, Sysco has a team of experts that go into in-depth consultations covering everything from profit and loss statements to keeping your menu on trend. Whether you're looking for training materials or food cost advantages or service ideas, Sysco has the expertise to fit your needs.
Visit Sysco.com, that's Sysco.com, to learn more about all the ways Sysco can boost your restaurant's business.
Sysco, at the heart of food and service. We might as well drink a little coffee right now.
Oh, yeah. This coffee is absolutely delicious.
Yeah. Our friend Lane is busy selling coffee right now. Normally she'd be with us in studio, but, sometimes you just got to move those beans, and that's what she's doing. So that's okay, because she did send us some Sosa Familia El Aguacate coffee that we are drinking right now, Finca El Aguacate. This one is from Tomas Sosa. At his passing in 2017, they were proud to continue the relationship with the Sosa family, led by his son, Giovanni. Giovanni, as a third-generation producer, is continuing the farming tradition in the Comayagua region of Honduras that has led to the award-winning coffee with these floral orange aromas, little subtle apricot acidity, and that wonderful lingering caramel sweetness. What do you think, Matt?
I say this every week, but I don't know, maybe it's just like my palate's becoming accustomed, but now I'm really, because we taste Carbro coffee all the time, you really get the nuances and the deliciousness, but I swear their complexity and the balance of their flavors is like no other.
It's delicious. Well, to learn more about Carbro coffee and where you can get it, you can go to carbrocoffee.com or go to shopcarbrocoffee.com to just go straight to it. But like, it's almost like we needed to like, just go to like the guys that really know what they're doing and say, just you guys make more of these. We don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it is like, it's so tough. Like right now we're noticing it's like labor is crazy high. So obviously something's got to give, you know? So where's it going to give? Is it which is basically, and it's just going to get passed through like to the consumer. So not only are we trying to recultivate our staff and re-energize them and grow them, we're also trying to appease our guests, saying, "Hey, we really aren't charging too much for this. This really is super expensive, you know."
Yeah.
Because they're like, "No, you're charging too much." Well, no, yeah, I guess if this were 1982, maybe we were charging too much,
Yeah.
but now, you know, we're not. It's crazy.
But it's fun. I mean, that's
I
like the
feel
cost of things nowadays. Like, my daughters and I went to Chick-fil-A in the drive-thru, which I'm sure everybody does, and pretty often. And it was like the 3 orders that we got, I think we paid to $38. And I went,
Yeah.
okay, that's not cheap for drive-through chicken for 3 meals. You know, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
everything's expensive. Like that seems like that would have been like $15 a couple years back. You know,
Yeah.
and now it's like it was always like a combo was $5. You know, but it's like no, it's $9, $10, $11, and that's just cost of food is that now. Like that's just. And I guess that's part of it. I mean, you know, good distributors like our title sponsor Sysco tries to do the best by like sourcing, and we talk about like they're affected by the income too, you know. So they're like, well, we can't raise it so much so that you won't buy it, and the market won't bear it. So it's like everybody, all different tiers, the farmers, everybody are like, yeah, everything has to go up.
Yeah.
Do you think that the end consumer is starting to understand that?
I think so. A little bit more, I would say.
Yeah.
I think what's happening is they'll spend less. Maybe they may have one less drink. That's what I kind of notice a little bit. Like something's, you know,
That's bad for my business.
traffic is fine. It seems fine, but the amount they spend is a little bit less.
Yeah,
It seems like
All right.
to me.
So when you look at that and you take the passion of the business, and I think it's an irony, right? Because the whole Tex-Mex game, from my perspective, we think of like those big chain restaurants like the Chili's of the world, and you said it yourself. You're like other chefs, like they, pardon my French, but they shit on it on Tex-Mex, but then that's what they want to eat. But you're doing an elevated local cuisine version of that, and then I'm fascinated by the economics of it, because what makes you said you have all these offers to come to our city. So what goes into the decision to say, yeah, we're going to go to North Carolina, we'll go to Fenton, and we'll go to Raleigh, and we'll go to Charlotte, and we think that that's a good place for these restaurants?
I mean, you mean what draws us there, or?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like from our perspective, from Max and I, it's like you theoretically could go anywhere, right? I mean, any place, or you said Southeast has these, but what specifically draws you to North Carolina?
Yeah, I mean, I love that whole area. You know, just that whole. I don't know. It's always been called a triangle. It kind of looks more like a square now with Cary heading in there.
Cary,
you know?
for sure.
You know, and Cary's like brand new, and you know, the only way I knew Cary, my son played tennis, so we'd go to tennis tournaments when he was a kid to Cary. So that was really and you know, Superica tends to do pretty well in those lifestyle center type things.
Yeah.
So I think that was a draw. I think landlords tend to give us a good bit of TI, like dollars for, you know, improvements. So to draw others to these centers or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the, I would say
that makes sense.
It takes that for us to really do it, because it costs so much money to build one.
Yeah. Well, like that place that you're at, the Fenton area, if people haven't been, you know, I mean, it's still being built up right now. It's not even complete, but you're going to have Scott Crawford's going to have his steakhouse there. Mike Lee also has his test kitchen. And then you've got Coletta, that great Italian place right next to you. And then, of course, your restaurant, Superica. All the while, you also have, like, what is it, the Paragon movie theater. So that brings people back out. People are actually going to movies now again. I saw like a study that people are, I think like the ticket sales to this year are like equal to what they used to be in 2018, meaning before any of the shit went down. So, so maybe theaters are back. I know I saw the first and only time I've been to Superica was post watching the Barbie movie with my daughter, and then we came in and had some tacos. And I, you know, it's funny. I wasn't even going to mention this, but like, on a previous podcast recently, we said we don't really talk about servers that often, or I definitely don't write reviews. Like that's the joke at the top of the show where we were saying everybody's, writing a Google review or so. But I actually wrote a review back to when, like after you shop at Superica, much like many restaurants, you'll get a text from them and say, tell us how we did, and
Yeah.
your server was so great. And he was above and beyond. Like even my daughter was like, he's really good. I go, yeah, he is really good. And so I reviewed and like posted it back and said, hey, great job to this guy. And he was just super engaging, made sure like we knew everything that we needed to know about the full menu and like the experience. And like, it was refreshing. It was like, oh, this is a good restaurant. This is well run. This is well managed, well staffed. Like it felt nice to be in a nice place. So thank you for bringing that to the community out here.
Good to hear.
Yeah, it's rare.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
That's the secret sauce we were talking about. And so it sounds like having a really clear vision of what you want, and also probably being able to write a really good quote unquote manifesto or HR guidebook in terms of what you want. And then the other thing you said, for those of you listening and taking notes, is have somebody there living in the community.
Yeah. That's for sure.
And then bringing that back to the Little Ray in Ironworks, this and the evolution of the elevated Tex-Mex, it sounds like the perfect thing that we want. Like you started out in fine dining, and now here we are at basically like a one window taco stand, but making these al carbone based cooking. It sounds amazing. So yeah, talk to us about Little Ray. And by the way, it's going to be in Raleigh Ironworks, opening up soon. I think maybe October we're talking.
Oh gosh. Next year, I mean 24 for sure.
Oh, we're in 24. Okay.
Yeah.
And there you're in great company with also Scott Crawford, East Cut Sandwiches, and
Andia's Ice Cream.
And Andia's Ice Cream.
Yeah.
Fourth best ice cream shop in the entire country, according to USA Today. So shout out to them. So yeah, give us a little bit more into like what the menu's going to look at Little Ray and what that, and I know it's an offshoot of Superica, but like it's different.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a very different thing. It's kind of like, the theme of it is chicken al carbone. Like you would think of a kind of a northern Mexico, Texas border where you're driving down this dirt road and there's like cinder blocks all built up and people are cooking chicken and you're smelling the chicken on the grill and the wood and all that. So it's kind of that element. Versus some of the real fast food versions of that, which would be like some sort of a pollo tropical or something like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Where who knows how they're cooking the chicken, or what chicken they're using, So it's about kind of walking in. It kind of has that little bit of an Austin, Texas vibe where the music is all whatever songs we're playing. It's a live music version of something. But the goal is to be able to look in the kitchen and to see really what's going on. It is like this is quick service, but you see stuff on a wood burning grill and a smoker and chicken coming out of a smoking box so that's kind of the main gist of it. But I would say most people order just different tacos. So we have different tacos al carbone, which are typically from northern Mexico. It's with a fresh flour tortilla, like in wood grilled meats, just chopped up in there. And then there's also the corn tortilla tacos with all different things from like suadero to chicken to shrimp to whatever, So people, and then there's even salads and a couple bowls, soft serve ice cream for the kids. I love the element of margaritas. It's like, normally when you go to like a quick service place, you go to the little Coke fountain, you're getting like Coke or whatever, but it's like here it's about, you see these margaritas and palomas and stuff like that, like slushing around in these machines. So, or the margaritas are on tap. So you're like pulling the tap. So it's real fast. It's all about kind of like super casual. Like who cares what you're wearing? Just come in, grab chips, queso. The move is to get like a side of flour tortillas with your queso. I mean, they're just ridiculous.
We got to talk about we got to talk about your tortillas, man. What's that secret? Are you using lard in those things?
I wish we were, but we can't. It's so hard. It's so, with all the Supericas and all that to find a real good lard. You can buy lard, but it's useless because it's like I don't know what they do to it, but it's like some sort of commercialized something. It doesn't have any flavor to it.
Yeah.
So the only best way to do it is if you're a smaller place. And then again, you get the people who are like, well, I'm vegetarian, so I really don't want that, So we do use shortening. But in Superica and Little Ray, I tell our staff, I'm like, the most important, if you fail at everything, just don't fail at the tortillas, just make those really good, but fail on everything else. That's fine, but it'll be fine.
They will hide a lot of things though. But you're making them fresh in house.
Yeah.
On a machine, I would take it. I mean, there's no way you could just do this by hand. But they are made like you just have like a big ball of dough, and then you're processing tortillas throughout the shift, right? Like it's a constant thing.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean that is a huge separator. Like that alone is all you need really, because then any not that your cooking prowess isn't amazing with your chicken and everything else, but like any numbnuts could heat up some meat and throw it on those tortillas, and you're gonna satisfy some people.
That's right.
That's a good thing. Yeah. That's a good thing. But, so it's really like lean down taco shop. A couple of tacos, couple of drinks maybe, but it is you can enter and sit down. Correct? It's big enough. Okay, yeah. I wasn't.
Yeah, it's one of the you order. Right when you order, you'll get like if you get chips, salsa, queso, that'll come to you right when you order because it's right behind them. You sit down and you go get your salsas, you go get your drink or whatever, or you get your margarita already.
Yeah.
Then your food comes to you, kind of thing. It just brought to you. So we tried to start off with, like, when I was a kid, it was in Texas. It was about, the microphone where you would they would call your name and all this, and I'm like, that'd be cool if we could do that. So we started off with that, but people were like, writing reviews, like they don't bring it to me. I'm like, you don't get it. You know what I mean? So we had to kind of pivot,
Yeah, they're like, I don't want my name said aloud. I don't want people to know who I am.
Yeah.
This is my personal information.
Yeah.
So this is great though. You have this side pumping, you still are doing like more fine dining back at like in the homestead, if you will. What about you as an actual chef? Are you getting in on the line at all these days? Like when was the last time you flipped, a burger or something?
Oh my gosh, you don't want me on there. I mean, no, it's like I am able to, like, it's so funny. You see these reviews and they're just like, they're generally like an ex-employee who was fired or whatever. And they're like, he's not cooking. He's not doing anything. Like, okay, do you really think I'd be cooking at 25? Like, what do I got? Some supersonic helicopter that's like dropping me. It's like,
that would be really cool if you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's all about it is all about our people, and I try. So it's like, no, I mean, I cook a lot at home. I'm in the kitchen a lot, just, at work, talking through things, tasting things, but not during service. I kind of let them do their thing. I don't stir the pot during service. Maybe come Monday, they'll hear about some stuff, but not at that moment in time.
Yeah.
You're still living in Atlanta these days. That's
yes. Oh yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
So that begs the question, like, is there a cap? Is there a ceiling? Or could you open up Supericas and Little Rays all over the country?
I mean, I think we can. Early on, and even to this day, I've tried to fight. I don't want to be a chain. I don't want to be a restaurant group. I never wanted to be that. I wanted to have a lot of restaurants, but I never wanted to be a restaurant group, if that makes sense. Like,
sure.
Some restaurant groups, like you plug in a restaurant of theirs and then it kicks you to their main restaurant group site, and there's all these swirlies and which restaurant do you want to go to today, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. I said, I want each restaurant to be individual. I want each Superica to like there isn't one Superica sign that looks like neon sign that looks the same as the other. I want people to kind of, we have 4, 5, 6 different renditions of the layout and the design of it. I really fight that whole chain. What happens is like private equity and all this gets a hold of these restaurants and they just dumb everything down and
you just want to rinse and repeat.
Yeah. And I'm like, this just doesn't make sense. We were talking about the other day, like, all right, hey, can we find someone to make us a whatever tortilla dough or something like that and freeze it and send it to us? Well, I start as a chef, I'm just like, okay, wait a minute. Now they're going to be profiting on this. Why don't we just make it? It's not going to, we're just, because everyone's looking to make more money. And I'm like, for me, I don't look at it that way. I look at how do we do what we do the best that we can do and make it unique and awesome. And the money comes, that's fine. You know what I mean? But the day that it gets chained out, I'll probably won't, they'd probably have to get me out of the way before that would happen. So,
yeah,
because I'm kind of the keeper of that.
That's good. That in the parallel, going back to Wolfgang, he had these 2 soups he was known for, his tortilla soup and a butternut squash soup. And every restaurant would make it in-house. And then at some point, they opened a commissary, and it was all being made at the commissary. And then all the soups were being shipped out in like freezer bags to all the restaurants. And everyone complained. Everyone was like, "What? The soup's different. The soup's not right." And like they knew. And we had so much feedback. We sent it back up there to the point that Wolfgang was like, yeah, no, we're not doing that anymore. We're going back to the old way, make it in-house. And he did. So it was good to hear, but it's like sometimes you can't scale that freshness. You have to make it at the location. So that's cool that you are cognizant of that.
Well, I was going to say, let's leave restaurants for a bit and let's talk about you as an author. You have a couple of cookbooks out there as well. And I think I've heard you say on an interview previously, it's actually pretty easy to write the book. So what got you into do on top of all the restaurants, writing the books?
I at first I started out when I guess a publisher called wanting us to do their, every chef's doing their chefy cookbook. And, I just was like, I started to go down that path, but then I started thinking about it. I didn't see many books on Tex-Mex. We have a lot of books that sit at home, and I love looking at the pictures, but most people won't even attempt a recipe in some of these books. So I got excited about, we have Superica. That should be now for me, it was easy because we had a lot of recipes already developed and for Superica. So I did a lot from my home and just some different ones, but I wanted to create something that was like fun and that people could actually make these recipes at home. So nothing, even Superica cookbook or the Tex-Mex cookbook, people sometimes stray away from some of the recipes just because there's a lot of components and whatever, but that's all it was. I wanted something that people could really use as opposed to something pretty, if that makes sense. So that was pretty easy, and a ghostwriter was actually my uncle's niece. So it's not a relative. So kind of uncle from my aunt's husband, my mom's sister's husband. And, she did the Uchi cookbook. She's in Austin. She gets it. She understands like Tex-Mex. She grew up on it just like so it was really easy because we just talked like, oh yeah, what about this and what about that, we just saw a line. So she basically wrote it through my words, but we agreed on everything. So that was pretty easy. So I had an easy experience compared to most chefs, I'd say, for writing a cookbook. Not sure I'll ever do another one again. I don't know, but I wouldn't mind doing one on, I don't know, somehow I'm like, when you look at my Instagram, it's like I post a lot of pictures about burgers. So I'm like, okay, I think you can tell a lot about a person by what pictures they're posting on Instagram. And I guess I like burgers because I post a lot of pictures of slutty looking burgers and that I like eating. Wouldn't that be cool? So I thought, just like the French Laundry cookbook, what if there was a burger cookbook that was like that coffee table book, really slutty burger cookbook. I don't know.
You've talked me into it. I'll endorse it. Yeah.
All right.
Well, I mean, you can't leave us at that, especially as a guy that loves cheeseburgers, and I'm coming off a 24-hour fast yesterday. So, you're making me hungry with your taco stands and everything. So, what's your ultimate burger?
Man, the first thing I have to ask,
somebody's making for you. You're not making it, but you get to sit down and relax and just eat it.
Man, it just depends. I'd say there's the two main school of burgers. You know what I mean? You get the griddle top burger that is like the smash that everyone's doing. Mm-hmm. That's just, you take 2 bites and the burger's gone, one of those, that just kind of all the bun and everything, the cheese, the American cheese all melts together. Mm-hmm. And then there's I would call it more of the one patty, the more the steakhouse type burger, which it's like one we do at Marcel, which is we take a dry aged ribeye, and grind it. We add a little bit more, probably some brisket in there and some more fat. So it's dry aged meat, and we cook it like on a griddle top while we're basting it with brown butter. Now you're really be hungry. And then that one goes on like brioche. You know what I mean? So you get like a thick dry age where it's all about the meat and the tasting of the meat, is that type of burger. And I'll take that one like at dinner, I'd say. Right. But at lunch you want the smash, the ones that's like super crusty, the American cheese that just kind of melting through there.
Sounds like you're going to open up a burger shop.
I don't know. I need to. But and then there's the other one that this is another thing to do. Like, this is interesting. So in Houston, I grew up in Texas, okay? And everyone's, are you a Whataburger fan or are you an In-N-Out burger fan? Surprisingly, I'm more In-N-Out than I am Whataburger. Whataburger was good in my memory, but reality wasn't that great. So, but we're cooking from our memory a lot. So we opened a place called La Lucha, which was kind of an homage to my childhood and my childhood memories. So we did this burger. It's kind of inspired by Whataburger in a sense, but it's it's good quality ground meat that we grind ourselves. Probably grind in frozen butter in with the meat itself. So that helps with this crust. So we do a 2 patty, 2 slices of American cheese, chopped lettuce, pickles, onions, tomatoes, and yellow mustard, and then we wrap that thing in orange paper, like Whataburger. And then we put that on a plate and it goes out. And then there's something about that steaming process of the burger in the paper that goes out to the table. And then you open it up and it's just like the whole thing is like it's just magical.
There is that unification process. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Like wrapping it really does like baby it. That's perfect. You swaddled that burger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, I'm hungry. And Max, I got to say, this is inspiring. Chef, you don't know this, but we do a food festival every year here in Raleigh called Bubbles and Brisket. And because we think that, based on the fact that, well, sure, beer's an obvious, but the ultimate wine pairing is always champagne. And if you can't afford champagne, there's other great sparkling wines around the world. And we're actually doing in Asheville at the end of October a Bubbles and Brats Shamtoberfest. So look for those, everybody else there. But
get your tickets now, everybody.
Burgers and bubbles.
I know.
Has to be a thing.
Oh, man.
Gotta be.
That would be dope. That's a heart attack waiting to happen, walking in and you've got 10 different burgers to choose from. You're like, oh, damn. But that would be really cool.
I mean, how could it be worse than a heart attack than all that fatty brisket,
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Well,
I'm willing to risk it.
Yeah. Well, everybody get your tickets to Bubbles and Brats. They are on sale now. Go to our website, ncfbpodcast.com to get your tickets. I think early bird tickets are available now up until October 8th. And then after that, full price. But get them done. Chef,
that's right.
We appreciate you coming in and chatting with us and letting us get behind the curtain a little bit about what happens at Superica and all the new stuff coming. So I appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Really appreciate all the insight and everything you're doing for the industry. So for everybody out there, wherever you are, go to Superica if you have one in your neighborhood. And if not, go to Little Ray's. You will eat and drink extremely merrily.
Thanks for listening to the NC F&B podcast. And if you've stuck with us this long, review us on iTunes and remember, 5 stars are encouraged.